We now know him for his famous grid walks and commentary on TV, and before that he was an F1 driver. But who is Martin Brundle? On the 1st of June 1959 in Kings Lynn, Martin Brundle was born. His racing career began when he competed in grass track racing at the age of 12. In 1979 he started single-seater racing in Formula Ford, whilst also racing in touring cars, and in 1980 he won the BMW Championship in touring cars. In 1982 he progressed to Formula 3 and achieved 2 wins in his first season. The following season he was embroiled in a fierce rivalry with Ayrton Senna for the title, which he narrowly lost in the last race of the season. For the 1984 season Martin Brundle was signed for Tyrrell, and in his first race he finished an impressive 5th in Brazil. In the 8th race of the season, Brundle rose from 11th on the grid to finish 2nd. This was his best performance of the season. However, shortly after this race, the FIA discovered that Tyrrell were using lead balls as ballast in their cars, which was illegal at the time. This meant that Tyrrell were disqualified from the 1984 championship, and all the results were declared void, so Brundle's results were wiped from the record books. Despite this, Tyrrell still decided to carry on racing, and in the next race in Dallas, Brundle had a big crash and injured both his feet and his ankles. These injuries forced him to miss the rest of the season for 1984. He stayed with Tyrrell for the 1985 and 1986 seasons, although the car was uncompetitive. He scored no points in 1985, with a best result of 7th. In 1986, he scored 8 points in what would be his final season with Tyrrell, the highlight being an impressive 4th place in Adelaide in Australia in his final race for the team. He moved to Zack Speed for 1987, but only got 1 point finish, a 5th place at Imola. This would be the only points the Zack Speed team would ever score, which was impressive for Brundle, but he was still in an uncompetitive car. After some frustrating years with underperforming cars, Brundle took a year out from Formula 1 in 1988. He went to race for Jaguar in the World Sports Car Championship, and he won the championship emphatically. He did race once in F1 that season for Williams, replacing the ill Nigel Mansell in Belgium, where he finished 7th. Brundle returned to F1 full-time in 1989 with Brabham. The car was competitive early on in the season, and Brundle was on for a podium in Monaco before a battery issue forced him to pit, and he ended up finishing 6th. The car's performance dropped off throughout the season, and Brundle failed to qualify for back-to-back races in Canada and France. He ended the season 20th in the championship and in an uncompetitive car once again. He decided not to race in F1 in 1990 and instead raced in Le Mans. He won Le Mans, which was the highlight of his 1990, alongside racing in sports cars for the rest of the year. He rejoined Brabham for 1991, but it was another disappointing F1 season for Brundle, only scoring 1 point finish all season, and the theme of uncompetitive cars continued. Despite a poor car and disappointing results, Brundle's talent showed in 1991, and Benetton signed him for the 1992 season to partner Michael Schumacher. He scored an impressive 5 podiums, including a 2nd place finish at Monza, on his way to 6th in the championship. He had chances to take his first win in Canada and Spa, but a combination of car failures and strategy denied him. To the shock of many observers, Brundle was replaced for 1993 at Benetton by Riccardo Patrese. He tried to get a second Williams seat next to Alain Prost, but that was given to Damon Hill eventually. He instead went to Ligier for the 1993 season and finished an impressive 7th in the championship, including a podium at Imola. For 1994, Brundle joined McLaren, replacing Ayrton Senna. McLaren were in a lull in 1994, and it was the first season for 14 years that they didn't win a race. The engine was unreliable, however, Brundle performed well and achieved 2 podiums that season. McLaren signed Nigel Mansell for 1995, so Brundle re-signed for Ligier. He had to share his seat with Aguri Suzuki to please sponsors, so he missed 6 races that season. He achieved his final podium in F1 in Belgium of that season. 1996 was his final season in F1, and he raced for Jordan, regularly fighting for points, including a 4th place finish at Monza. In his final F1 race, he finished 5th in Japan, securing 11th in the championship. After F1, Brundle entered Le Mans 5 more times, but he didn't manage to replicate his previous successes. He is more well known, however, for his broadcasting role. He first joined ITV as a commentator in 1997 alongside the legendary Murray Walker. He also did his first ever grid walk at that year's British Grand Prix. He stayed at ITV until 2009 when BBC started showing F1, and he then moved to Sky in 2012 to commentate on their coverage. He has become known as a passionate and knowledgeable voice inside F1 and is respected by drivers and fans alike. Outside of F1, Brundle was name-checked in Stormzy's single Angel in the Marble. The two have spoken on multiple grids around the world, and Brundle sat down with Stormzy earlier this year for a feature for Sky Sports F1. Overall, Brundle will be remembered as a good but not quite great driver, but the broadcaster of his generation.